I'm keeping my promise.
Using a smartphone, while immensely beneficial in many aspects, can also pose certain risks and harmful effects, both on an individual level and in terms of security. There are two stories at play. One is that of a psychopath stalker out to destroy a young girl's life by having access to her smartphone. The other is of a cop investigating a serial killer who he suspects might be his runaway son. Let's jump into the story and explore this gem and learn all of its mysteries. Lee Na-mi is employed as a marketer at a startup company. She misplaces her smartphone in a bus, but she is fortunate to find it again. Lee Na-mi's smartphone is picked up by Oh Jun-young. He's a pro hacker and begins to stalk Lee Na-mi after installing spyware on her phone. During the film, he learns all about Lee Na-mi's life by reading every text conversation, listening to her phone calls, and watching her through the phone camera.
Oh no, she just left. Oh, right. Hey, delete that picture, okay?
It's great, right?
At this point, he also starts to frequently bump into her in real life. Whilst this is happening, a police detective called Woo Ji-man, Jun Yeong's estranged father, begins uncovering bodies in a location his son used to frequent.
A supplement that's the same as this one was buried with the victim?
He starts to believe that he had something to do with the murders, so checks his wife's phone, only to find she has been texting their son. From the phone, he finds his son's address and heads to his apartment. There, he discovers pages of notes and multiple smartphones, all of which have screensavers of the deceased people, plus the same plant food that was buried with the bodies. Woo Ji-man starts to film the evidence to prove his son was responsible for the crimes. However, Jun-young returns home to find his father going through his things. Rather than confronting him, he begins to tease him by sending a photo of his location outside his apartment, to which Ji-man heads outside to check. Jun-young then enters the property, giving him enough time to destroy all of the evidence and leave. In one scene, he pretends to be an IT office worker and bonds with Lee Na-mi over her interests. He also tells Na-mi that he frequently visits her father's cafe, despite Na-mi getting on with Jun-young. Her father has his suspicions and warns his daughter that he thinks he's dangerous.
His first time there and he posed as a regular. Plus the CD and the baseball tickets. You think it's all some coincidence?
However, Jun-young has heard this conversation through the phone, and so he heads to Na-mi's father's home. Proceeding to tie him up, set up surveillance cameras, and use the property as a new base, he starts to sabotage her life by getting her fired from her job and making her friends fall out with her.
I'll find who's responsible. I will catch them and I will fix all this.
At this point, Na-mi realizes she has been hacked, so enlists the help of Jun-young, who she thinks is a friendly IT guy. Meanwhile, Ji-man and his partner find Jun-young's IT center, where he pretended to fix Na-mi's phone at the start. They bump into her whilst there, and Ji-man reveals that Jun-young isn't who he says he is. So the three decide to join forces to catch him.
We need to catch him now.
We will, no matter what. So do as we say.
I'll get him to come over.
Na-mi calls Jun-young and asks him to come over to her apartment. Ji-man and his partner go too, waiting outside to confront him. However, Ji-man doesn't recognize Jun-young to be his son, and viewers realize that he's seen people waiting for him, so heads back to Na-mi's father's place. The police end up driving Na-mi to the same property, thinking she'll be safe there, and ask her to contact them regularly to update them on how she's doing. However, Jun-young forces her to text them to tell them she's okay, before tying her up in the bathtub and waterboarding her next to her father. He then takes a photo of her and makes it her screensaver, which suggests things are about to get even darker. Na-mi was one step ahead of Jun-young and knew that he would be watching her, so instructed the police not to text her, only to call. Ji-man and his partner then arrive on the scene and catch Jun-young, and he begins to beat his son.
Jun-young's not dead. Where is he?
In another plot twist, Ji-man then learns that he's not actually his son. Looking at the smartphones, he realizes that they're all numbered in the order that Jun-young has murdered his victims. He notices his son tied up and tortured on one of them, revealing that the serial killer has decided to live as one of his victims in order to evade being caught. Turns out that the reason Ji-man had been estranged from his son for so many years was because he was dead, not due to an argument. What's even heavier is that Jun-young's mother believed she was talking to her son for all this time. But in fact, it was his killer. And this time, another twist happens. Na-mi kills the killer with a gun. So all in all, we have to wait for the next episode of this epic film to find out what happens next. This movie has an IMDb rating of 6.4. We're happy you are attached with the story thus far. Please come along to the next one. Please subscribe if you're new to the channel. It really motivates us. Stay tuned.